Hello and welcome to the Geeks Handbag on this glorious sunny day. So I'm on another B&M quest, this time to get the 4th Doctor and TARDIS set. It was only released a couple of days ago and there's already loads on eBay, but can I get it from an actual shop for the actual retail price? Let's find out. Oh my goodness, just one left. Got the new figure sets as well. Do they look any different? Anyway, let's grab that TARDIS. So, success! And you know, my friend texted me just over an hour ago and said they had loads on the shelf. I don't know what he means by loads, but they've obviously sold quite a few in that time. I jumped straight on the bus to get here, so I'm really pleased I managed to get one. I also bought one of the repainted 70s sets to have a look at. So, let's get these home and take a look at them. And here it is, and I'll start by saying I do like the new packaging. It did stand out on the shelf when I saw it. So, Doctor Who 5.5 inch scale collector's series includes 4th Doctor regenerated from Robot 1974, 4th Doctor regenerating TARDIS, nice big window display so we can see the set. On the side there's a picture of it, and on the back the same picture, although when you look at it close up I think this is the prototype as it does look a little bit different. With opening doors, my word, hours of fun there, and there's a little bit of write-up about the TARDIS itself. And if you want to read what it all says, then do pause the video now. And apart from a little bit more TARDIS on the side and all this on the top, that's it for the packaging. So let's get them out, and be warned, you will need a screwdriver for this because the TARDIS is screwed in at the bottom. My word, that was a bit of a mission, but I've managed to get them out. I really do hate these plastic things that they put around the TARDIS and in between the doors. They're very hard to get off without snapping the doors off. Anyway, first impressions are they look lovely, but before we take a look at those, I must just mention the picture inside the packaging itself of the unit lab. That is a really lovely touch. So it's kept nice and simple with the brown floor and the lab door and the bookcase, but what I really like is this corkboard that they've put on the wall with all these various things on it. So there's a poster from the Palace Theatre from the episode The Talons of Wen Chiang, and underneath that there's a little note saying chap looks familiar, must check up. There's a nice diagram of the TARDIS console, the Who-mobile, a postcard, a few other bits I can't quite make out, and then this checklist, and I've tried really hard to work out what's on that list, I just can't read it. But if any of you have managed to work it out, do let me know in the comments. So considering this set has been made on a budget, it's really nice that they made the effort to do that, and it does make for a lovely backdrop for the TARDIS and the Doctor as well, because obviously that's where the Doctor regenerated in the unit lab, so really nice stuff. Right, let's take a look at the figures themselves, starting with the Doctor. I know this figure has come under a lot of flack online, people comparing him to Tom Jones, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen and lots of other people. Facially, yes, he could have looked better, but I also think he could have looked a lot worse. You know, this is a budget set, and I think there's a hint of Tom Baker in there, and hey, he's got funky sideburns, so it's not all bad. The paint apps are quite neat as well, around the eyes and the hair. Love the colour of the frilly shirt, and also the lining around the lapels. It all looks very neat, so yeah, for a budget set, I don't think this figure deserves the hate it's been getting online. Also, the figure feels quite solid, which is good, because very often the figures in these cheaper sets can feel very cheaply made, like they'd break very easily, but he feels of quite good build quality. He's got lots of articulation in his legs and his arms and his hands and his head, so he's very poseable. And as you can see there, his hand is gripped as if he should have a Sonic, but unfortunately he doesn't. So overall, it may not be the best figure. It's certainly not as nice as the 3rd Doctor figure we got in the previous set, but I don't really have any qualms with it. I think he's fine. Hello there, yes, I've got the previous version of the figure that we got in the 4th Doctor's time capsule so we can compare the two. So, as far as I can tell, the sculpt is exactly the same on both, but the head does look quite different on the new one, and that's mainly down to the paint app. So the skin tone is a lot lighter, the eyes are painted to be much more defined, the sideburns have been painted a different colour so they stand out more. And obviously we've got the lining around the lapels of the jacket. Apart from that, not an awful lot of difference. I think the trousers may be fractionally lighter on the new figure as well. And you know what? Overall, when I put the two together, I slightly prefer the new version, I think. So enough of the Doctor, let's get on to the TARDIS, and I'm just going to say straight away, I absolutely love it. It's the third time this particular mould of the TARDIS has been used. So originally it was issued as the 4th Doctor TARDIS, and then repainted and issued as the 3rd Doctor TARDIS with a black base, and now again as the 3rd/4th Doctor's TARDIS in this regeneration set. I do love this particular sculpt. It may have a few inaccuracies, but I think it looks really, really nice. One slight annoyance with it though, and you may have noticed as I was spinning it around there, it still has the really ugly battery and speaker compartments on the back, which of course are totally useless because this is not an FSX TARDIS. It makes no noise or sound, which is a shame because it'd be great if it did. And let's not forget those opening doors feature that it says on the front of the box. Yeah, what a shame that it's so ugly inside as well. It would be great if they could just put a little card picture of the interior of the TARDIS in there. But, you know, it's easy enough to make. You can do your own. So when you want to close those doors, you just pull that one shut and press the button on the floor. So here's the two previous releases. This was the original 4th Doctor, which is a darker blue. Then we got the 3rd Doctor one with the black base, and obviously this is the most recent one. Signage as well at the top has changed quite a lot. So on the original, very dark black with the white writing. This one much more weathered, and this one completely light with black writing on it, and I quite like that. The original 4th Doctor's TARDIS was a darker blue and looked very clean and crisp in its paint apps, especially around the windows and signage. Compare that to the other two releases, which have been made to look very weathered, again especially around the windows, signage and the pull to open signs. Another noticeable little difference is the lamp on top of the TARDIS. On the original 4th Doctor's version it was just blue. On this new one it's been painted with a silver top, and on the 3rd Doctor's TARDIS it was painted black to match the base. So I genuinely like all three variants, and I think if you're a collector like myself, there's enough differences between the three to warrant collecting them all. But if I had to pick just one, I think I still slightly prefer the original. I just love the colour of it. Plus, if you're going to have that big ugly battery compartment on the back, you want it to do something. That said, I do really like this new variant, and it's such a nice day today, I'm going to take it out in the sunshine. Seeing the set outside in natural daylight really helps to bring out the detail. I think the TARDIS looks absolutely beautiful, and despite the criticisms, I think even the 4th Doctor figure looks good in this light. So for £19.99, I really do think this set is good value for money. In fact, to be honest, I'd probably pay that just for the TARDIS itself. So before we go, let's take a quick look at this 1970s set. So this originally came out last year alongside the 11th and 12th Doctor box sets, and they've all been reissued with very minor tweaks to the paint applications. So packaging wise, it's almost exactly the same, although they have gone to the effort of changing the 4th Doctor figure, because you can see he's got the white cuffs there. As far as I can tell, they haven't bothered to change those two figures though. But apart from that, the packaging is exactly the same. As for the figures themselves, well, I've got the original set here, so we can compare the difference. So let's set the figures free. So let's start with the Brigadier, one of my all-time favourite characters from Doctor Who. I believe this figure is based on the brig that we saw in the story Spearhead from Space, and I remember when the figure set came out there was a bit of criticism that the clothing was too dark, and this is the original figure. So bring forth the new version, and as you can see they've taken that criticism on board and the clothing is a lot lighter, and I believe this is much closer to what we see in that particular episode. Paint app wise they both look pretty good, although this one, the original, has got a splodge on his shoe which always really bugged me. This one, they're very neat and look really good. Sculpt wise they're exactly the same of course, and I do think it's a nice figure of the Brigadier. Out of the two though, I do actually prefer the new version. Next up it's the 4th Doctor, and this one is based on how he looked in the story The Talons of Weng-Chiang. The actual sculpt that they've used, well, the jacket is from a 3rd Doctor figure that's been painted, and it's a bit of a mishmash really, but it just about works. Anyway, let's bring on the new figure. And yeah, there are a couple of differences actually. One of them, which is a vast improvement, but paint apps wise you can see that they've painted the cuffs of the shirt there white, so they definitely stand out more. So you might have to look hard on camera to see this, but the paint apps on the new figure are a bit more sombre and more of a matte finish compared to the original. This one looks a lot shinier on the coat and the jacket and the waistcoat. This is more of a matte finish, and the waistcoat is a slightly different colour. But here's the biggest improvement on the figure, the legs and feet. Yes, on the original one, they'd used an old sculpt, and whoever the figure was, they had very thin legs, and they were wearing boots, and you could still see the outline of the mould, and they were just painted to look like shoes. Thankfully, on this new version, they've used a different leg sculpt, which actually has trousers and proper shoes, and it looks a lot better. So it's a bit of an odd one, this figure. It's terribly inaccurate, but despite all of that, I do really like it. And out of the two, the old and the new version, I think I would go with the new one because of the leg sculpt. And finally, it's the Auton figure. So here's the original, and here's the new version. And you know what? I can see absolutely no difference between the two whatsoever. And it's such a missed opportunity. I remember saying on my original review of this figure, all they had to do was paint in the details of the buttons and on the belt buckle to make it look brilliant, because it's a great sculpt. Compare it to the original. How awesome does he look in comparison? And as I said, all they needed to do was fill in a few paint apps. I can't believe they didn't do that on this reissue. So that's disappointing, because it's a nice variant of the Auton figure, and it really wouldn't have taken much just to have added those few details to make him even better. So a couple of nice little tweaks to the 70s set, and I do think it's worth picking up if you don't already have it, and if you do, well, it's up to you if you think it's worth buying again. As for the 11th Doctor set, well, the only thing I can notice any different in it is that Clara isn't wearing her utility belt, and Amy's jacket may have been a fractionally lighter shade of blue. As for the 12th Doctor set, Bill's top was painted a bit nicer in the new one. She's got a stripe down her trousers, and her shoes are a different colour, but that's about it, so I won't be bothering to buy them again. So B&M are currently selling the reissued figure sets for $16.99, which is great for those of you that don't already have them, and the new 4th Doctor and TARDIS set for $19.99, and I particularly like the TARDIS set. I really think it's worth getting before they all disappear. So there you have it. Thank goodness these sets weren't as hard to find as the last lot. Although it slightly annoys me that B&M get these exclusives because it's sometimes hard for me to get to the store, I guess I should be grateful that they show an interest in stocking Doctor Who products, especially the classic sets, because without that interest I guess we wouldn't get any sets at all, so I do have to give them that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do check out the Geeks Handbag on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And for those of you that like to use your ears, do listen to the Doctor Who podcast that I do with my friend Gary that goes out every Friday called The Big Blue Box Podcast. But until the next time guys, take care of yourselves. Bye bye!